Hi everyone, and welcome to the webcast. Today we're going to be talking about how to crush your conversion rate records on YouTube, just like the pros do. My name is Michaela Fasadi. I'm the Revenue Marketing Manager at Brite Content. Today you'll also be hearing from Eric Olden, who's the technical founder and CEO of Brite Content. To give you a little bit of background on each of us, starting with Eric. He is a 3-time software company founder. Over his time building companies, he's built up multiple patents in big data and security that are now applying to the underlying marketing technology in Brite Content. And a fun fact is he conceived the idea for Brite Content on a chairlift. So my experience is in YouTube agencies and video DSP technology companies. I've led strategic account direction for top brands on YouTube for over 4 years. This includes poster boy brands like Red Bull, Purina, and Adidas. And quick fun fact on me, since the timing is right with the Olympics going on, I am a 4-time Italian national diving champ, and on the right there you can see me doing a nice backflip as a 4-year-old. So let's jump into it. I want to talk about why we're all here today. I can guess that you're here today because you want to shatter your YouTube performance. That's great because we're going to help you get there today by answering these important questions. Starting with, how do I advertise in front of the best content on YouTube? What's the right content for me on YouTube? Second, how can I conquest my competition on YouTube? Third, how do I optimize YouTube campaigns painlessly and efficiently? The answers we share today are really the key to learning to boost conversions and overall performance from your YouTube campaigns. So before we jump into the meat, we had you guys fill out a poll upon registration, which talks about your priorities on YouTube. And here are the results. So when it comes to TrueView campaign priorities for everyone that registered for this webinar, we saw that performance takes the cake. It's the standout. 52% of you responded that is the most important thing for your TrueView campaigns. That's followed by advanced targeting with 26% of respondents opting for advanced targeting. Then there's automation coming in at 13%, and finally content alignment at 9%. So through this conversation today, you'll really learn that the 3 pieces, content alignment, advanced targeting, and automation, are what's really driving the 4th and most popular piece, which is performance. But because performance is the standout goal here, let's talk about that first. So when it comes to performance, everyone wants to know how much and what kind of results they can expect. So let's review some real results from brands that use the tactics that you're going to learn today. Starting from the left, we have a view rate performance improvement of 250%. View rate is very important. Let's talk about it for 1 minute, as it is a huge indication of your campaign's health. So view rate is calculated by dividing the number of views by the number of impressions on your campaign. In other words, it's the percent of viewers that are served your TrueView ad and watch until the TrueView occurs at the 30-second mark. This is not to be confused with view through percent or video completion rate. Those are an indication of how, of the people that are served an impression, how many complete the full ad spot. Whether it's 2 minutes or 5 minutes, video completion rate is going to be the percentage of people that make it to the end of your video. So let's go back to view rate. Views divided by impressions. View rate determines the health of the ad rank on your campaign. Ad rank is the score that YouTube gives your content based on how relevant and how engaging it is. Strong ad rank means the opportunities for scale are greater and you'll pay less for each view. YouTube essentially favors campaigns that have high and strong view rates. So that's very, very important. Another one that's really important for our customers are higher click-through rate. So on average, the customers that use the conquesting and content alignment and automation strategies that we're talking about today see a 2 to 8 time higher click-through rate. And that's based on YouTube's benchmark of 0.5%. So our customers are seeing between 1 and 4% CTR. It's a huge, huge important thing for brands that are looking for engagement and site traffic. That leads to conversions. It ties in very well. If you're getting more people to click on your call to action and land on your site, you're bound to get more conversions. So on average, we see a 500% increase in conversions by using these tactics. And last but not least, you have more efficient CPAs. If that's something that you're interested in, we work with brands that are looking for efficient cost per installs for their mobile apps. More efficient CPAs is clearly a huge metric for them, and we're able to increase the performance there very significantly. So let's talk about a specific example here. Microsoft received a 6 to 8 time higher CTR than the YouTube benchmark of 0.5%. You can see that in the CTR achieved column in green, where they received between a 3.1 and a 4.0% CTR. That's really, really outstanding. This resulted in massive ROI for their campaign that received over 4 times the number of conversions than any other video targeting on or off of YouTube. So really the power of content alignment and finding the audience that is really in the right mindset, it pays off. So this leads us to our first question of the day. How do I advertise in front of the best content on YouTube? And the answer to that is really placement targeting. And we'll see this as a theme that comes up pretty often throughout our conversation today. So placement level targeting is available in AdWords today. It allows you to choose the channels and videos you want to target your ads in front of. It's the most granular and precise option available in AdWords. And on the left, you'll see a stack rank of targeting options that I'm sure you're all familiar with in order of the most broad to the most targeted and granular. The challenge with most anything that is granular and precise is scale. And we'll address that obstacle in a couple of slides. But first, let's talk about why content alignment is so great. Content alignment we know is valuable, and we know this because it is the gold standard for targeting on YouTube. This idea is validated by Google's most exclusive targeting option for brands on YouTube. Google Preferred offers brands the ability to target a bundle of top channels within a specific vertical. It's a premium offering for brands with premium budgets, and they set those premium budgets because it really works. So what if you don't have that premium budget for Google Preferred, or if you want more granular targeting beyond channel bundles? Google has democratized this placement targeting by including it in AdWords for anyone to use. You just need to have the tools and tricks to use it well. And we'll talk about that more today. So now we know that placement targeting is the key to aligning your TrueView spots with content that makes sense for your brand. It really allows you to control where your ads show up. So let's use an example to understand what the difference in output is when using interest topics and keywords versus placements. So let's say you're an automotive brand and you want to target auto content, auto enthusiasts, people in market to buy cars. So you can use interest topics and keywords to achieve that goal, but you don't have the opportunity to vet the content that your ads will run in front of. The result of that is what we call the Taylor Swift phenomenon. We've seen this a million times with our clients, that when they've used their interest topics and keyword targeting, you'll see a lot of videos with a very high view count, including Taylor Swift and Justin Bieber lots of times, and you have limited control and low visibility on the front end, which isn't always the best option for brands. So on the contrary, you have placement targeting, which allows you for granular control on the upfront of your campaign, transparency, and really content alignment that is relevant for your brand. So as an automotive brand, I can go and pick content of viewers watching reviews and related pieces of content that you really want to be catching your audience in front of. So another example of the benefit from placement targeting is you want to be there when your customers care. People go to YouTube looking for answers all the time. It's the second largest search engine in the world, as you all know. And content alignment through placement targeting is an opportunity to show your customers that you're there for them at the right time, right place, with the right message. An example of this is a skincare product. Let's say I have a new skincare line and I want to reach users that have skincare issues. They're looking for skincare treatments and remedies and tips and tricks on YouTube. And by placing my product in front of those relevant placements, it feels a lot more personalized and it boosts click and engagement performance. So this leads us to our next question. How do we go further on content alignment to really use it strategically to win over customers that our competition is getting eyes on? So the question is, how can I conquest my competition on YouTube? The answer is yet again placement targeting. So the process for finding competitor videos to advertise in front of is very similar to how you find content to align with that match what your users are searching, which is what we just talked about. So you research your top competitor brand videos on YouTube, you collect the video URLs for all of those competitors that you want to conquest, and you add them to your placement campaigns in YouTube. It's really as simple as that. So for an example, let's go back to auto. Let's say Hyundai wants to conquest Honda content. I did a quick search and there are over 100,000 videos uploaded in the last month related to the keyword Honda alone. Imagine if you added all of the other competitors that you could conquest on YouTube. You could run a whole campaign on conquesting alone. So before I pass the mic to Eric, let's do a quick recap. The key to content alignment and conquesting on YouTube is through placement targeting on your AdWords campaigns. Placement targeting is the most granular and precise type of targeting available in AdWords. It lets you control where your ads show up and be there when your customer cares. Additionally, the results of placement targeting are hard to ignore. You don't really get this level of magnitude of performance increase with any other type of targeting on YouTube. I'm going to pass it off to Eric now, who's going to teach you how to set up low maintenance, high yield campaigns on YouTube.
Thanks, Michaela. So let's start with how do we do this content targeting, this video placement targeting, and run these campaigns in a way that's not painful, we can do it in a scalable way and do it in an efficient manner. And the way that we have found to do this is actually using software. Rather than throwing people at it, use technology, use software, and importantly, rules-based automation. So the big challenge with targeting on YouTube is that there is so much content to choose from. There's over 1.5 billion videos on YouTube, and every minute, more than 400 hours of content is loaded up. So that's almost as hard to do if you looked at the stars in the sky and you were to say, I want to choose a very particular kind of star out of all of the billions of stars that are out there. Oh, and there's more stars coming along, and every minute there's more and more and more content and more things that are created. So it's really a problem of scale that is just impossible to do by hand because you can't sort through that in a reasonable way. The second thing is we like to say that YouTube is like sushi and it's best when it's fresh. So specifically, when you think about when content gets uploaded and it's at its peak within just a couple days of when it's loaded up, and after 2 weeks, the amount of people who are viewing really drops off. So the key is to be able to get content within the first 2 weeks of when it's uploaded. And the trick with that is, you related to the earlier point, when you have so much content that's getting loaded up, as soon as you find the content that is relevant for your campaign or your brand, then you launch your campaign, well, within literally minutes, there's brand new content that could be even better than the content that you originally targeted. But if you're constantly trying to retarget and find new content to run against, you just can't keep up. And so the thing that we see most people run into is that the content that they're targeting becomes stale very quickly. So this is leading to the dilemma. How do you do if we want to run these very effective content targeted placements using the specific videos that we care about? How do we solve three problems? The first, how do we address alignment of our audience and the videos and our message? And the second is, how do we keep up with this rapid state of change? All of these changes, new videos, fresh videos, and also whether or not certain videos are performing. You may have videos that are in your targeting list, but they're not performing, and they're worse than taking up space is they prevent you from using other content that will perform. So really trying to scale from an optimization standpoint. And then the last thing is that there's just a lack of tools for doing this kind of content targeting at scale. So we asked ourselves, is there an easier way? What would it take to make this effective and something that marketers could use in a practical way? And we looked for a long time. We looked at all the options that were out there, and we found that we would have to build software ourselves to do this. And that software is called Brite Amplify. And I'm going to go through some of the high points about what Brite Amplify is and how it works to reach scale. So by background, Brite as a company, we're a software and data company, and we help marketers use YouTube to achieve breakthrough levels of performance and to be able to do things that you wouldn't be able to do without a platform and technology to support you. And marketers, both in consumer, enterprise, and pretty much everything in between, are using our platform to automate and scale TrueView audience targeting and to optimize performance of these campaigns. So let's start with the first thing. The first thing is to be able to do the video targeting in an easy way, and then to scale that. So the way that this happens is you go into Brite software with a couple of keywords that are relevant to your audience. And what you're looking for here are the kind of keywords that are related to the content that your customers that you want to reach are watching. So if you're doing automotive, they'd be automotive type of keywords, could be new SUV comparisons or reviews of the 2017 Toyota or the 2015 versus the 2016 sedan market. Various things that are going to be searched for by your customers. The second thing that happens is that Brite will generate a list of videos that match those keywords. And so it creates this list that you can then pare down and say, okay, these are ones that I like, and I think they're on message and on point. So you can create a group of very specific videos that match the kind of keywords that are relevant to your target audience. And then the third thing that happens is this list is then integrated into your AdWords platform. And so we tie the videos, the placement groups, directly into the AdWords platform so that we can then incorporate them into the campaigns themselves. The second step is to think of how are we going to orchestrate all of the different parts of a campaign. So in the beginning, it's about how do we target, and then we come up with a campaign plan. Then we execute that, and that execution starts to run across a lot of different related systems. The AdWords plus the YouTube content itself integrated with the call to actions and the marketing automation systems that you have. Could be landing pages, could be downloads, a number of different systems that need to be integrated. And then once you have the systems running, we want to optimize. We want to find what's working and do more of that, and identify what's not working so we can do less of that and redirect our energy, our budgets, and our attention to what's really working. And lastly, to be able to have all the analytics and reporting to support our decisions and to be able to report on what matters. And when it comes to reporting, there's a lot of pieces that you need to measure, and there's a lot of moving parts in order to get optimization working. And what we've seen work is to really look at the performance of your campaign and to see which kinds of videos are working. So in the example we mentioned earlier, if we're trying to reach people researching laptops, do we know if the people who are looking for a particular brand of laptop, is that going to be outperforming laptop reviews? So looking at all the data that we see from a reporting standpoint to be able to drill down and roll up the various performance on an individual, discrete, granular basis. And then you need to be able to do this not at the end of the campaign, which would be far too late, because then you don't have any way to make changes that are going to improve performance. Instead, you want to be able to optimize this on a daily, even hourly basis because of how high volume and the frequency at which new content and videos happen. So the ability to automate based on rules is important, because that's what is the secret to getting this to work in near real time. And this is where integration between YouTube and AdWords really is critical, because if you're looking at them in isolation, you're never going to be able to keep up with the speed of changes. And even if you were to have a dedicated team working on both systems, it's going to get out of sync very quickly. And so with software that's integrated, you allow these two systems to work together in a way that will drive automation and optimization of your placements to happen without any effort and without any, basically without any time and human manual intervention. And the result of doing that are those kind of results that we show. 5x improvement in terms of conversion, 75% improvement in efficiency, because you're able to allocate your budget much more efficiently. And the core to this are rules. So the way that rules work is to define a set of criteria that must be met, and when they're met, some action is automatically taken. So in the example here, our Brite rules would look for a certain budget amount of how many dollars are being spent on a particular video placement. And if at least $100 is being spent and the click-through rate is not better than 1%, then we want to take some action. We want to remove these videos because they're underperforming. And so by taking the logic of our campaign and media manager and putting it into a series of rules, then you let software take over, and instead of having someone constantly refreshing the placement groups and balancing out the campaigns, the algorithm will do this and do it virtually in real time, and then this way get you the maximum performance out of the campaign that you're running. So to recap, we talked about three things. The first thing was answering the question of how do we advertise to get the right content on YouTube? And the answer to that is using placements to target and to get content alignment. The second thing was how do we conquest competition on YouTube? And the answer to that was to use targeting to identify and target competitive content on YouTube and using placements to do that at scale. So getting really granular and then doing it at a large scale. And then lastly, how can we do this in a way that gives us the performance without becoming a massive burden? And the answer to that is to use software that automates the optimization and the targeting at scale. And our belief is that Brite Amplify software, the first of its kind, is the best way to do that. So thanks for sitting with us and going through the webcast today. And now we're going to turn it over to a couple questions that have come in during the session. Michaela?
Thanks, Eric. That was great. We do have a couple of minutes for questions, and the first one that came in, we'll start there, is where do we start?
Yeah, that's a great question. Where to start? The first place to start is with a plan. Come up with what your strategy is going to be, and that starts with the objective that you're trying to reach. Are you trying to drive an awareness campaign, or are you trying to drive a conversion campaign? Go to the plan and then look for, if it's awareness, what is the message that you're trying to do, and how are you trying to deliver that message and that supports that type of messaging. So in an awareness where you're trying to, say, drive awareness of your cars and reach an audience that is interested in looking at new models and new technology, then what you want to do is draw up a persona that matches and describes the audience that you're looking for. After you have the persona, start to cover some of the demographic. What is the age group? What is the geography that they're interested in? And then you start to look at topics and themes that are interesting to them. So, for instance, to be able to go into in automotive, finding the videos then that are of the car reviews and also of the competition. And then you build the inventory of those. So now you've got the plan, you've got the persona, and now you've got a targeting list. Then you, lastly, is you plan your campaign. And this is where you're going to apply a lot of the AdWords strategies that you've done in the past for AdWords for videos, and then to run the AdWords campaign. And we find that doing this in a small pilot to walk before you run is the best way to start. So maybe take, if your ultimate plan is to run this over a 3-month period, start with 2 weeks and do a soft launch. And in those 2 weeks, don't spend all your budget. Spend a little bit of your budget just to really see where the performance is going to work. Create a series of these campaigns. Maybe one is about automotive review and another is about conquesting. And then see which of those two are getting you the best results. And then based on how the various campaigns are working, then in the subsequent weeks, you can scale up your budget and do that in a way that you're confident about where your budget is being spent. And within that scale out period, that's when you really want to use software to do the automation to be able to optimize within those individual campaigns. And in the end, make sure that you're able to produce a report to show here's exactly what happened through the life of the campaign and whether or not you hit your ROI goals that you set out for. So the best place to start is with a good plan. Work the plan at a small scale, get it to work the way that you expect, and then scale it up, and at the end, recap and report.
Thanks, Eric. So another question as a follow-up to that one, does placement targeting only work for certain verticals, the big verticals, or does it work for others as well?
What we found is that video targeting and using placements works for companies big and small in markets that are both big and ones that are very niche and very focused. And what is interesting is by using an algorithm to target and be able to get the very, very specific niche long tail content and to do that at scale, that is a great equalizer in the YouTube world. Because when you're a giant brand and you're trying to reach a very broad demographic, then you can use the most popular content, the greatest hits. And it may be that for awareness, you want to get a lot of reach and frequency out there. And so using some of the tactics that are very broad, targeting broad-based interest in terms of content, that you can get the kind of awareness part of the funnel taken care of, still using targeting. But if you're a niche player and you've got a very specific audience that you're trying to reach, then using content targeting, even for awareness, will allow you to go find all of that long tail content, aggregate it in a way that you create a pool of relevant content and all of the related views. And then you can then run an awareness campaign by pulling together all of the small videos, but create a large pool. So in essence, by using software to aggregate, you can create a big niche. And that's something that is really powerful for companies that are looking to go after a very targeted, very niche kind of audience. So in short, yes, you can use targeting, whether you're big or whether you're small. You can use it. We've seen it work across very consumer video game type focused use cases where people are trying to reach gamers that are spending money on downloads. And we've also seen it work where people are going after very high consideration purchases like solar panels that can run in tens of thousands of dollars. So it works everywhere from small dollars to big dollars, small markets to big markets. And in terms of the marketers and the advertisers themselves, we've seen them be some of the biggest brands with multi-billion-dollar budgets, but also smaller organizations that are spending, tens to hundreds of thousands of dollars in marketing.
Thanks, Eric. Really appreciate your time and insights on YouTube, automation, targeting, and content alignment. It's been great hearing from you. Everyone that signed up for the webinar, want to remind you that you're eligible for a free YouTube content alignment assessment. That means you tell us the content that you want to run in front of on YouTube, and we'll get you a list of videos that you can test out. So to get that, just email Chloe at britecontent.com to get started. That's all we have for now, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye-bye.